Wittenberg Project, Athanasius. Thank you so much for joining us. Wittenberg Project. Like, subscribe, share this video if you can. We would really appreciate that. It would really help the channel out. Just wanted to make a short follow back, short video, and sort of to clarify some of the errors that I think we saw as people engaged with us in the last video, and I think this is going to be very helpful. This is a Christian YouTube channel. This is a Lutheran YouTube channel, and so obviously the platform that we have created is not only based on Scripture but also in the Book of Concord. We hold to the Book of Concord. We subscribe to the Book of Concord. So that it is very important for us to say that from the get-go, for us not to be confused. And you're going to see, as I go through the video, you're going to see why this is important to clarify from the get-go. And so we are also not charismatic. We are not in the business of going around and telling people this is the will of God for you, or step outside of the Scriptures and pretend that we know the will of God in things that we simply do not know. We don't have that advantage. We don't have that luxury to know outside of Scripture what God has for us in Jesus Christ, which is the center of Scripture. Outside of that, we simply do not have the privilege and the luxury of knowing what God is doing in history, especially in our days. And so I thought the responses that we got through the video that we made on slavery revealed that there was a big deal of confusion. Brothers and sisters, we are not consequentialists. In other words, we do not gauge the providence of God or the goodness or evil of God on the results of certain events. We are not utilitarian in that way. And so, for example, if someone cheats in the stock market and becomes a millionaire, a billionaire, and decides to donate to your church or my church or to a ministry X amount of money that's going to help us build buildings and have equipment and gear and things like this, we're not going to go around praising God or reinterpret Scripture because of the goodness that this evil, this theft, has benefited us with. Okay, that's not acceptable. Evil is evil, and God is not the author of evil. We do not assign to God evil. Evil comes from our hearts, from corrupt men like us, and so that is important. We are not consequentialists. We are not utilitarian. We call a spade, and that is important. And one of the most disappointing arguments that I was hearing throughout, the comments and people interacting with us on social media, both on Facebook and Twitter, was, well, what then do you do with Jesus? Because God clearly used the evil that was done against Jesus. Obviously, it was Roman soldiers killing him and crucifying him, and the lies that he had to encounter and things like this to ultimately benefit us. And my response is very simple. The death of Jesus, and this is going back to Scripture, to how we gauge all things, we interpret all things from Scripture. Scripture from the beginning was very clear. It is very clear in letting us know that the will of God through Jesus was prophesied. The gospel was given to Adam and Eve from the get-go. It's called the proto-evangelium. You know that term. So, and we knew that he was going to suffer. We knew that he was going to go through certain things. God told us beforehand, thousands of years before the actual death of Christ, that he was going to go through this. And so I don't see how you can jump from that and then try to use that as an excuse to justify evils like slavery, or as I said before, someone robbing a bank, and interpret it in a very convenient manner so as to justify evil, and sort of also imply that God is the author of evil. And so that is a morally decrepit, a morally bankrupt way to do morals and ethics. As Christians, we know better than that. And again, utilitarianism and consequentialism are not biblical Christian methods to do morality. Not even in the secular world, this is tolerated. This is given a thumbs up. This is simply not the way that we do theology around here. And just to close, I wanted to read to you guys some words that I think apply very fittingly to the situation that we are discussing here. And this is a book called Christian Dogmatics. It was written by one of the Lutheran, considered one of the Lutheran fathers, Franz Pieper. This is the third volume. I think it's 4 volumes. And I think this quote is very helpful and very fitting for this occasion. And listen to what he says. This is he's talking here about the eternal election, page 499. He says, Calvin and his followers commit the folly of attempting to extract a doctrine of predestination to damnation from historical facts which Scripture expressly declares to be incomprehensible and unfathomable for us. They pretend to have a knowledge which they cannot possibly have, and that is fitting for this video clip. We haven't been given the mind of God in certain aspects of life. That's just the way it is. We are not called to speculate. We're not called to rationalize. We're not called to explain evil from our position from a position of authority, from a convenient position. Interpret Scripture from a vantage point of us being Americans, or in my case being Central American, thinking that I am the center of the world and that God is working all things for the good of me as an individual at the expense of other people. That is incredibly crazy. It's just, as I said before, morally bankrupt and totally unacceptable. I hope that was helpful. Wittenberg Project, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time. Bye-bye.